I thought we could start with a broad question on where we stand today. And as you look at the industry and how it moves forward, it's very clear that COVID-19 and the associated lockdowns have had a material impact on economic growth and oil demand. Certainly, I think it's safe to say that every oil and gas company has been affected in some way. So how can technology be used to reduce costs and to enhance this industry recovery? And to begin the conversation, Alan, I'd like to start with you. A warm welcome.
Thank you, Dan. COVID has certainly affected industries across the entire world, not only oil and gas. And I think it's fair to say that the long-term effects on our industry and society are still evolving. Over the past 9 months, particularly in the oil and gas industry, we've seen a number of changes. We've seen volatile and lower prices. We've seen depressed demand for crude and for refined products, and in particular transportation fuels. And it has certainly affected operations and projects around the world. However, I'd say at ADNOC, through dedicated business continuity efforts, we've been able to keep our people safe, which is our number one priority, keep our operations and assets intact, and we're maintaining our 2030 smart growth strategy, including our commitment to innovation and sustainability. During the pandemic and the resulting market volatility, we've also initiated several changes. Some of these are going to be temporary and some of these are going to be more permanent. So, for example, our ability to switch and to work from home and still be operational with access to all the necessary tools and systems. We also quickly developed a COVID tracking and reporting system, and we combined this with artificial intelligence, an AI-based pandemic forecasting model, which became the backbone tool for our daily business continuity efforts and for planning and testing of new initiatives. We're also accelerating some innovation projects and initiatives when it comes to things such as smart worker concepts or the use of drones and robots and AI and blockchain application, amongst others. So I think, Dan, it's safe to say that the entire oil and gas industry, as well as other industries, have probably implemented many of these changes and initiatives. But as I often say, the one truth about COVID is that if you didn't believe in digital transformation before, you most certainly do today.
Absolutely. And one of the most fascinating things to come out of this pandemic is the fact that we've seen an acceleration of a lot of these technological trends. David, what's your view?
Well, firstly, thank you very much indeed for inviting me to this virtual conference. And I can say much the same thing as the CEO of ADNOC LNG said earlier on. She said this certainly wasn't the year she was expecting, and I can say that's the case. In my case, BP has a new net zero strategy. We have a completely new organization, and I have new responsibilities in that. And of course, we're 8 months into the pandemic with the impacts that has had on demand for our core products. But much as Alan said, our operations actually are running very well. We have improved safety performance and we have lower costs. And much of this, again, as Alan said, is down to digital technologies. Firstly and foremostly, we have shown that our digital estate is secure. And with something like 50% of all our applications now in the cloud, that means that everybody has been able to work from home and carry on with their job as normal. Secondly, we have deployed digital tools to enable people to make better decisions faster. Again, as Alan said, we've deployed robotics and automation basically to enable, to replace the rather sort of repetitive, low-value tasks that have been done by people previously in things like inspection and methane monitoring. And in summary, I would say that our core business of hydrocarbons has been shown to be very resilient through this business, as indeed has the convenience and mobility and our low carbon business.
Indeed, David, thank you. Girish, what about you? How would you say COVID has impacted operations? And on the technological side of Weatherford, where are you seeing advancements now?
Thanks, Dan. And first of all, again, thanks so much for having me. It's a privilege to represent Weatherford on this panel. I think, look, as both Alan and David mentioned, look, first of all, the priority continues to be keeping our people, our contractors, our customers that we work with safe. And it's the whole COVID pandemic, in my view, has been a catalyst to really transforming the industry, accelerating, as Alan pointed out, the digital transformation. And look, I break it out into sort of three categories. I think the first is office-based workers. And this is something that most other industries are dealing with, and everyone's learning how to work from home. The notion of the cloud, being able to do everything without actually coming physically into the office. Yes, a little bit of a restraint on collaboration, but what it's also changing is this notion of where people need to be. So one, it's changing workforce habits, and it's also accelerating the ability to get more stuff done. I've seen, engineering design walkthroughs with multiple people collaborating remotely, where you would have to fly them into a certain location, and it's actually more productive. The second, and probably the one that I'm very excited about, is actually field operations, where we have now seen the ability to have folks remotely sitting and helping operations on the ground. So we've actually installed liner hangers on a remote basis. We've delivered a successful site track without a single specialist on the ground. So those kinds of things are what COVID has accelerated. We've always had the technology, we've had capability, but this is a catalyst to bring those remote operations. And it actually changes the nature of the industry, both from a cost as well as from a safety and ultimately from an efficiency point of view. And then the third aspect of it is really products and product development. And some of the stuff we've heard from Alan and David, the inclusion of artificial intelligence, of robotics, of ultimately automation to reduce the concept of the personnel on board, to improve safety again, and drive a complete change in the way we think about the overall integrity of our operation. So ultimately, again, I think all of it comes back to technology exists, the capability exists. What we now have is a catalyst to really drive transformational change.
Absolutely. And many companies like yours have all been forced to put a lot of these new operational processes, new technology platforms in place as a result of the COVID pandemic and the associated lockdowns. I wanted to bring President Wakuda into the conversation now as well, because I think you have a quite unique perspective on all of this as well. And to go back to the original question for you, Mr. President, how do you think technology can be used to reduce costs and enhance the industry recovery?
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Hajime Wakuda of JOGMEC, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak at this panel. And JOGMEC is a governmental organization. We have been cooperating with ADNOC and in many fields of EOR and other digital technology, and we have made many things in Abu Dhabi. And regarding to your question about the COVID-19, so I think I would like to touch upon the rather demand side. So we know the demand for oil and gas has dropped significantly, and it may be difficult to expect a short-term recovery in the near future. But however, I would like to highlight that in the long term, global economy will be likely to keep growing. And also, I would like to underscore that the importance of the Asian economic growth. Regarding the forecast, the energy demand in Asia will be increasing 26% in next 10 years. And also the energy demand in the ASEAN region, it will be 45% increase. So it's a huge increase. And so stable energy supply is very key and required for underpin the growth. And the energy industry should be is responsible for satisfying the demand, and the technology will be playing a role.